the topic of the discussion and hit the issues you typically find reluctant. Remove the facade to fill the gap with some substance. We undermining problems, expecting to overcome it. Please hold the applause. We doing it for the cause. People follow culture before they follow the laws. We rather face the friction and not attempt it at all. Persistence will find solutions once our contentment dissolves. There's a hard pill to swallow for anyone breathing, both for folks who stay woke and those who be dreaming. We ain't slaves, yet we still ain't experienced freedom. What we need is the keys to access the kingdom. We're all in this fallen world trying to stay intact. I'm just a beggar, point you out to where the bread is at. So follow the breadcrumbs like Hansel and Gretel. Thank Yogi Bear and the thought engineer for that on
Hey!
Hey!
Again, ladies and gentlemen. But hold on a minute. You're not Yogi?
I am not. So sorry.
It's all good. Ladies and gentlemen, being joined by the lovely Dr. Smith is in the house tonight.
Hey.
You doing all right tonight?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm
good.
I
know you're good because...
Yeah. This is my wife, y'all. My wife. My beautiful wife. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we're back once again, Man Talk Mondays. Yes, you don't see comedian John Yogi on with us. He's getting some sun, having some fun on vacation. Much deserved, I know, and I hope he's having a good time. So shout out to my man Big Yogi. Ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, John.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Man Talk Mondays. It's an open forum where we talk about everything from religion to politics to relationships, but of course we're doing it from a man's perspective. Now keep in mind, this is not just for men. We want everybody to participate, join in the conversation, men, women, boys, and girls. Comment. This is how you talk to us. Drop your comment, drop your question in the comment section. We can see this. We can see your comments. By all means, join us for the conversation. We want to talk to you, right? You're part of this conversation. All right. So make sure you talk to us. Okay. So don't leave us hanging. We want to hear from you. All right. So getting into tonight's show, we still gonna do, I know it's a man and a woman, but we still gonna do man talk about it. Just a couple of things going on we want to just kind of bring up. A couple of topics you may have come across, you may have seen yourself. First, I don't know how much money it takes, but Dr. Dre they settled on $300,000 a month in spousal support. This is in the divorce. Dr. Dre got divorced, and now they finally settled everything, and they settled on spousal support to the tune of $300,000 a month.
I support it.
You support it?
I do.
Why? Why do you support it?
For one, no man, and woman too, but no man gets where they are professionally without a woman standing behind them. So he got to where he was because of the support and a soft place to land of his wife. And she has been living this life for so long because they've been married for a while. So she's been living this life for so long, and all of a sudden, just because they're divorced, she's supposed to come away with nothing. She has to maintain that lifestyle that she had while she was married after the fact. So I feel like if they said 300,000 was enough, then that means she's able to live comfortably the way she was when she was married after the fact. So I support you saying, girl.
I don't know how I feel about it. Now, Dr. Dre is worth 800 million, last reported. So even if he even if he lost a few million, he's still up there in the hundreds of millions. So he can afford it. Just to us, that seems like a lot of money. I know $300,000 a month is a lot of money to a lot of people, but to Dr. Dre, But I get what you're saying. You still want to maintain a certain lifestyle. You're still not going to get to maintain a lifestyle to the tune of 800 million as you would with $300,000 a month, which is roughly about 3.5 million a year. That's nice. But it's not as much as he, enjoying. I don't know. I think people get caught up in this. I don't know. What you gonna say?
For one, the people who are talking about how this is too much stuff, they're not on that level. They're not on that caliber because this is nothing for him. But right. They also have children. You know what I mean? And so not only is she still living the lifestyle, but she still has to support her children. Her children can't go to the dad's house and live one lifestyle and then come to the mom's house and live a completely different one. Especially when, even though he has the talent, of course, and he's the one who's putting out these songs and doing all those things, he's doing that with his wife as the backbone. And so there's some level of support that should come with that. And so, the people who are complaining are commoners like us, who 300,000 a month sounds like an astronomical number, but to him, it's like, why wouldn't you take care of somebody who, first of all, you said you loved at one point? I mean, I know you have issues right now, y'all are breaking up, but at one point you love this person, so you wouldn't want them to go to something less than what they were already experiencing, and then they're the mother of your children, and so you have to also take into account that when you're supporting her, you're supporting your children.
Wesley says she had the lifestyle because of him. So should she still have to be able to maintain it if she leaves him? So I don't know who filed for divorce. Regardless
of what, she had the lifestyle because of him, what he did outside to everybody else. But how do you know during Pillow Talk she wasn't the backbone behind what he did? Because Pillow Talk, listen, that's the board meeting, that's the business meeting. Pillow Talk is where the business is handled. And so women don't get the credit. They're still the ones that are feeding into their husbands and they're pouring into their husbands so that they can go out and do the things they do in the world. So he just don't see that.
Now, Donald says Dre would have been Dre without the woman. I think because he accumulated a lot of stuff before her. Now, he had some deals that happened, I guess. I don't know exactly when they got married, but that pushed him to that 800 million. I think Dre Beats, when he sold Beats by Dre, that pushed him to that level. But Donald said he would have been that, but without her.
Listen.
And Wesley said the kids are grown.
Regardless of whatever. What I'm saying is that let me tell you, motivation and having a soft place to land, people cannot create. He's a creative. He can't create without that. Without his kids knowing, I don't have to do this, I don't have to do X, Y, and Z because my wife is taking care of that. And then how do you know that the ideas that he's had post-marriage have not come from her? She's like, babe, I know you got this, but have you thought about X, Y, and Z? How do they know that she has not pushed the envelope for him to be able to make more than what he made coming into the marriage? My thing is that people are underestimating what the woman or what the wife brings to a relationship, because at home, if you come home to a tumultuous relationship, to a wife who is, who's somebody who's just giving you hell and fury all the time, who's not supporting you, who's not pouring into you, you're not going to be able to go out into your professional world and perform. Point blank. And so they got to take that into account.
I get what you're saying. Like I said, they say behind every great man is a great woman. Now, what I've said is a man does not need a woman to be great. But if he has a woman, she better be a great woman if he's going to be a great man. Because if trying to be a great man, and you don't have a great woman, you're going to have issues. You're going to have problems.
Sure.
So I'm pretty sure it was something, he was inspired enough to marry her in the midst of, all that was going on with all the money. But I think for him, we're talking about a severance package. I think it's really 3.5 million a year is more like a severance package for, it's not like she got half. I've seen, you know, I think Jeff Bezos, who has so many billions of dollars, his wife got half. If I'm not mistaken, she got half, but he's still one of the richest men in the world, regardless. And now she's one of the richest women in the world. So, yeah, I get it. I get it. But yeah, to the common folks like us, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money.
You deserve it. Get your coin, sis.
So for all of you Insecure fans, I don't know if you all know about Insecure. Insecure is the show. It comes on HBO. Matter of fact, I think they're getting ready to run their last season. It was started by a young lady by the name of Issa Rae. Issa Rae started off as she was this comedian and she started writing. And all of a sudden she gets this show. The show blows up. It's huge. Insecure. Well, Issa Rae is now married. I think it just happened over the weekend.
We got the ring. Yep.
Issa Rae got married.
Issa Rae got married.
Issa.
Yes.
She's tied to knot. Bella, she's off the market. I don't know if anybody was trying to put a bid in, but just want to let you know.
Listen, it was extremely private. Okay. So the fact that she even showed the pictures is a big deal. But she made it seem like she was just doing a photo shoot, and then she just had some girls show up with the same dresses on, which happened to be her bridesmaids. And so she took somebody's husband for the photo shoot, took a picture. But she is actually married to people, and I am so excited for her, and I'm proud of her for just not only professionally, but now she did her thing and still got the ring. So congratulations, Issa Rae.
That was smart.
Very smart.
Wow, because you know the paparazzi and everybody want to be in your business. Everybody want to be in social media, and to keep that and to frame it like that to keep people out. That was genius. Yeah. She's a smart lady anyway. Smart, very business savvy, and the whole nine. So yes, congratulations to Issa Rae. She started off on a good foot, keeping people out your business, especially when you get married.
Listen. Well, we're going to get into that later, but y'all keep the people out your business when you get married. Take a note out of Issa Rae's book.
Right. She might need to do a master class like they always do around these times, but do a master class on how to have your wedding private and keep people out your business.
Not your wedding, but your marriage.
Well, your marriage, yeah. And it's important because we talk about Hollywood too. Hollywood marriages. Yeah, it's important.
Hollywood will tear up a marriage. Okay. Look, Dallas will tear up a marriage. But anyway, Hollywood will tear up a marriage. Keep these people out your marriage.
Yeah, I think about all the people who they're married and they jump on these reality shows because they chasing paper and the whole nine. And man, they go through it. These marriages don't last when they jump into stuff like that. So I hope she has a good team behind her, which is important. Mm-hmm. You got to have a good team. You need a team behind you when you get married, not just for the wedding. You need a team for marriage.
Yes.
So
I think the misconception is that the bridesmaids and the groomsmen are just there to be cute and have on an outfit and dance with you in the reception. But really, those are the people who should be holding you accountable, not necessarily knowing everything about your marriage, but holding you accountable, supporting you, motivating you through your marriage. That's what, when you sign up to be somebody's bridesmaid or somebody's groomsman, you are saying, I am holding myself. I'm going to make sure that I hold this person accountable to have the best marriage that they can possibly have, not knowing everything about the marriage, but just being there to motivate them, being there to make sure that you encourage them through whatever they're going through. Because you know when your girl is down and when your homeboy is like, he not feeling good, you don't necessarily need to know the ins and outs, but I need to, motivate this person, I need to encourage this person. That's what bridesmaids and groomsmen are for. They're supposed to be there to be your cheerleading squad, like your team that says like, you can do this, marriage is okay, it's wonderful, you'll be all right. And not just to dress up and dance with you at your reception. Well,
I think that being said, we need to go and get into it. Get into it tonight. So, ladies and gentlemen, tonight's topic, what we're talking about tonight, the wins and the woes of newlyweds. The wins and the woes of newlyweds. Monique chiming in, she said that's an awesome point. Having a person in your corner and to hold you accountable. Great point. Accountability is key. It's key. So the wins and woes of newlyweds. My wife and I, we've been married, be 13 years next month.
Almost
13 years next month. So we're not newlyweds. How many years you have been
like
married?
After 2 years, you're not a newlywed anymore. I feel like the first 2 is like, oh, we're newlyweds. But that third year, like, you getting into real life and like all of the glow and the shine of a wedding and marital bliss has worn off, and like you in this thing. So I feel like, and this has not been written in the book of marriage, but in my mind, I feel like after 2 years, like, you're no longer newlyweds.
So you say 2 years?
I think 2 years.
How long does it take for the honeymoon to wear off? How long you think it takes for the honeymoon to wear off?
So see, I don't think that should ever wear off, in my opinion. But I don't know. I think it really just depends on the couple, because you can make that thing last long. As long as y'all are enjoying each other, you can make that part last longer than the 2 years.
So let me put it this way. When I say the honeymoon, now the romance should never stop. The romance, putting in that effort to keep things live, should never stop. The honeymoon is when reality sets in and you come down off that high of the whole wedding and this new thing. Because new things stop being new after a certain point in time.
When you go back to work. But for us, I'm just speaking on us. Like we were on this whole, well, I'm gonna speak for myself, you can chime in. We were on this high after the wedding. It was like, oh my gosh, we're married, going on our honeymoon, blah, blah, blah. Had all of this time off. And then in the elevator, having to go back to work, it was like, wait a minute, it's over. Like, that's it. Like,
yeah. And let me just say this to anybody getting married. Anybody, you have not gotten married yet, you're engaged right now, and the date is fastly approaching. Let me tell you, the day goes by very quickly. I'm talking especially to the brides. I made a point to take it all in, but my wife, she was like looking back at pictures. Oh, so-and-so was there and all this type of stuff. And she was so surprised. And I'm like, I went around and I spoke to everybody. She was out there on the floor with her saras and stuff, doing their strut and all that kind of stuff. Shout out to the Deltas. But I made it a point to go and I wanted to take it all in, but it goes by super fast. So make sure you take it all in.
Now that's one thing.
Go ahead.
There's one thing that somebody, I can't even remember who it was, told me. They were like, it's going to go by so fast. So you have to take small moments throughout the day, throughout the night to say, okay, let me take a mental picture of what's going on just to remember what's happening. Because you're in such bliss and all of this stuff that you don't really take into account who's there and what's actually going on, what's happening. So I tried to do that throughout the night. And that is one thing that I tell all my friends and all of the people that I come in contact with on their wedding day or prior to their wedding. Make sure you take small moments to take in this thing, because you spend so much time and effort for like a year and a half or however long to plan for this one big day. And then the day goes by like that. And you're like, wait a minute, what happened? When was it? Like, you forget it because you're in such, you have this adrenaline rush. And I don't know if you know about when your adrenaline starts pumping and your memory and stuff goes away, you can't kind of think and stuff. And so you don't really recall all of the things that happened that day. And that's why it's so important to have pictures and video and just take those small moments throughout the day to take in what's going on, because you will totally forget because you were in such bliss on your wedding day. And that's my little 2 cents.
And another little bit of advice for those of you who are still kind of setting up your wedding and stuff, find a photographer who knows how to discern the moments, not just there to take pictures, and they know how to be discreet. I don't even remember seeing our photographer. I don't.
First had two.
She had two, but they were like not there. All of a sudden, you got all these pictures. It was great. They weren't in the way. I mean, I couldn't even remember them being there. So when you pick out all these people, your photographer and all this kind of stuff, consider all of this. Look at their work and see if they can capture, the moments and not just sit up there and just take pictures. Just a quick hint, quick tip for all of you engaged people. A quick tip.
All right, so David says some people, newlyweds, or I guess the honeymoon phase lasts only a few months, is what he's trying to say.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily something you can put an actual time on. I think it depends on the people. I tell you what can take you out of the honeymoon phase faster than anything.
What's that?
Problems you drug into the marriage. They start resurfacing very, very quickly. So you got to watch out for that. But let's talk about some things to look forward to. What would you say are some things to look forward to for some newlyweds or people that are engaged?
Wait.
The weight gain. The weight gain.
You are married now, and so you are just so in love, and you don't want to leave the house. You want to stay at home and sit on the couch and eat, or go out to eat and go on all these dates. And you are going to gain weight. If you don't have in your mind that I am married now and I'm happy, but I still need to watch that scale, you are going to gain weight. And that is something that somebody told me. And I was like, oh, yes. But I did not understand the 40 pounds that I was going to gain after my wedding, because I literally would go to work, go to school, come home, and he was cooking and we was eating and sitting on the couch watching TV and movies and just getting fat, just good and fat. So listen, you are going to gain weight after marriage because you're going to be happy. So it's going to be happy weight, but it's going to be weight.
Ain't nothing as fattening as a new marriage. It is fattening. I don't think when you put the ring on, there's pounds attached to it. So unless you already got this serious habit, you one of those, both of you all, you both have to be health conscious and very into fitness to where part of your time spent together is at the gym. If that ain't you, get ready. It's coming. Right? That weight just creep up on you. You look back and he's like, and you won't notice until you see some pictures of you before the wedding and then look at you now. It's gonna be, it's gonna blow your mind.
Yes.
All right. So, all right.
We got a question.
So Nick says, do you all believe in the 7-year itch?
Yes.
I think, okay. You say you believe in it?
No. I believe in, if the person believes there's a 7-year itch, there's going to be a 7-year itch. I absolutely believe that.
Right. Because I heard a lot of things. Some people are like, oh, your first year is the hardest. And some people say the first 5 years. I think it depends on how soon you learn the lessons. I think that's what really, because here's the thing we got to watch out for. You going from being an individual where you considering yourself, like even in dating, you kind of consider the other person, but it takes on a whole different flavor when you in it. You in the marriage, y'all in the same house, in the whole nine. It takes on a different thing. But I think it really depends on when you decide to just, put in the work. Mm-hmm. I think that's when it clears up. But you hear a lot of people say a lot of different things. Maybe y'all tell me what are some things y'all heard? How many years? Nick said the 7-year itch. Anybody heard anything different? Let us know.
Well, I've heard the 7-year itch, but I really feel like it's whenever you like, okay, I'm tired of the normalcy. you know, because people want excitement and stuff. And so they get to this point where it's like, we just live in regular life. And so I want to see what's out there. And so normally what Nick says, it comes at the 7-year mark. But for other people, it can come at any time. But you just have to be conscious enough to be like, I know what this is. You know what I'm saying? And create that excitement within your marriage, or talk to your spouse about it and say like, look, I'm feeling this little 7-year itch or whatever they call it. But like you have to have people in your corner. My friend's mom, Miss Christy, shout out to Miss Christy. She pulled me aside on my wedding night and she was like, don't let people tell you that the first year is the hardest. Don't let people pour into you and say that there's a 7-year itch, because your marriage is going to be what you make it. If you believe that there's a 7-year itch, there will absolutely be a 7-year itch. If you believe that the first year is going to be hardest, the first year will absolutely be the hardest. But it's going to be whatever you consciously make a choice to say that it's going to be. And I literally was like, I listened to her, but then I still had at the side of my ear, like, okay, they said the first year is going to be the hardest. And like our first year, we kicked it. And so I'm like, what they talking about? Like, I don't
got fat. Kicked it and got fat.
But I was like, well, okay, so it didn't really happen the first year because we chilling. So I'm like, oh, then I started thinking, okay, maybe the second year gonna be real, real hard, because everybody said the first year was, and it wasn't. And so the first day was hard. Let me say first day, 2 days. But after that, okay. So then I was like, okay, the second year is pretty cool. When are we finna hit this? And then you start living in an expectation of it being hard, and you're robbing yourself of the experience of just living this wonderful life as a married couple. And so I listened to her, but I should have taken to heart what she told me that night, to not let anybody define what you're going to experience in your marriage, as far as like the first year being the hardest and the 7-year itch. If you say we're not going to have no 7-year itch, then you won't. If you say we're going to have this wonderful marriage, and not to say it's going to be perfect, but what I'm saying is going to be a respectful marriage to where y'all get through the highs and lows together, then that's what you're going to have.
You know what I think it is you really got to watch out for? As far as the itches and stuff go, I don't know about that. But like I said, unresolved things that you drag into the marriage that you haven't talked about, because those things start resurfacing. And if they're not dealt with, the irritation of not dealing with those things, and because they don't just go away. You got to deal with them. If they don't just go away, now you get this itch of, I'm tired of dealing with this thing. I'm tired of fooling, when are we going to get past this? And if you're not communicating properly, I can see how people might call that an itch. I don't know exactly what the itch is. Nick, let me know. What do you mean by the itch? Is it the itch to leave? Is it the itch to cheat? Is it an itch to, what is the itch necessarily? What are you itching to do, I guess? So let me know.
I'm going to give an analogy. If you think about like a wound, if you have a wound or whatever, and you think that the wound has healed, however, if you keep like touching it or irritating it a little bit, it's gonna get to itching. You know what I'm saying? And then you're gonna start scratching it, and if you keep scratching it enough, it's gonna become a wound again. So the thing is if you don't deal with those things that are a wound for you or that are troubling you before you get into marriage, then you think it's healed. And then throughout the time of marriage, that thing gonna come up again, and that itch is gonna happen, and you're gonna try to tap back into whatever it was because you haven't resolved or haven't dealt with or healed from it prior to marriage. And a lot of marriages go through that. Ours, including like if you don't deal with things prior to getting married and put it out there to where it's something that y'all can discuss or whatever beforehand, then going into marriage, that can potentially become an issue again because it wasn't dealt with in the first place. And so it's absolutely important that you talk about things and deal with issues prior to getting married, the ones that come up prior to marriage.
So that means, especially when it comes to premarital counseling, because this is where you kind of clear up this stuff. Listen, for those of you who are getting ready to get married, when you get in premarital counseling, tell the truth. Go ahead and get it out. It's better to go ahead and rip the Band-Aid off before you get married. Yes, I know you sent out your invitations. Yes, I know you done told everybody. You put your engagement on social media and everybody's expecting this, don't be afraid to call it quits if it's necessary. Because listen, my father-in-law, shout out to Pastor Sam Kinsware, the best time to get divorced is before you get married. He says that. I believe that the best time to get divorced is before you get married. So in premarital counseling, when the people are talking to you, the counselor is talking to you, don't just be like, oh yeah, it's fine, everything's good. No, say, no. I got some concerns, I got some questions, and you got to get into it. It's better to go ahead and have it out there than to wait till you get married and get behind closed doors and y'all fighting like cats and dogs.
And I'm gonna give the analogy. I'm an analogy person. So,
go ahead.
Like when you go to the doctor and you're sick, if you only give them certain symptoms of your illness and you're not telling them the true story, giving them a complete picture of what's going on with your health, then they're going to diagnose you only based off what you tell them and what they have been able to see, right? So what they can see with their natural eye. And so that's what happens when you go to these premarital counseling sessions. You're giving them bits and pieces, but you're not giving them the full symptom of what's going on in your relationship. And so they're not giving you a complete diagnosis, and not even a complete diagnosis, but giving you a complete treatment plan. So you're not being treated in your premarital counseling or giving strategies and tools to make sure that your marriage works because you haven't told the true story. And so it's important not only just to get premarital counseling, but somebody who is of wise counsel. And so somebody who you can trust with your information, because a lot of people go to people that they know and they love, and that's great and wonderful, but you're not going to go to that person and give them everything because like, oh, I don't want them to know all my business. But if you go to somebody and you give them bits and pieces, then they're going to give you tools and strategies for bits and pieces of your marriage. And it's not going to help your complete marriage because you haven't enclosed everything that should have been told to that person so that they can give you the tools and strategies that you need to make sure that you have a healthy and thriving marriage. So tell it all in premarital counseling. Get it out there.
Now here's something I'm a proponent of. I don't think premarital counseling is enough. I think you need postmarital counseling as well. As soon as you get in there, maybe a few months, especially after the honeymoon phase, and you kind of getting away from that, and you kind of settling into the real life of marriage, I think you need to go and talk to somebody and check in. Maybe. Because it's one thing to have an expectation, but it's another thing when reality sets in. And you gotta be ready for that and to have somebody who understands to kind of help you manage that, because your communication may not be at the level it needs to be. And it may not be working the way it needs to. So you need just somebody else to kind of help out so you can deal with the realities of what you're facing now, because there's a couple of things that could smack you in the mouth, when you get in there. So true. So I want to know, some of you are some newlyweds out there. What about marriage is different than what you expected?
Shout out to Fred. He said he's new to this, so he's listening. Him and his wife just got married. And so he said that he's out there listening.
Fred said counseling almost had me throwing in the towel. Listen, but it makes you think, because that's what you're supposed to do. You got to really consider. You don't know what you're getting yourself into a lot of times, because people paint these pictures and most people lying to you. You go to church and you see married couples and they, oh yes, dear, no, dear. And they done had a knockout drag out right before they walked into the building. But they're not telling you that. They're not telling you that, yeah, we both love Jesus, but they still getting on my nerves. And how do I deal with this? So you need somebody who's going to give you the real. Mm-hmm. Nick said, I think you hit it on the head. The itch of not solving issues you dealt with before committing to someone, such as insecurities, lust, traumas that may affect the relationship long term.
Absolutely.
I think he's absolutely right. Insecurities that you don't deal with become arguments. And the arguments come because you become defensive about those things, because you're trying to guard that, because you're afraid. Because the base of an insecurity, you're afraid that if the person sees it, if they recognize it, they will reject you. They already married you.
Yeah.
They say it for better, for worse, all that type of stuff. So the trauma as a whole, I think if you got trauma, there are some things that you have to deal with personally with a separate counselor. Don't make your husband or your wife your counselor if you have trauma. Deal with somebody that's skilled in that.
Yes.
So this is part of the work as a man, as a woman. Before you come together with somebody, you say, I want to get myself right. I want to clean up some things on my end. So let me go do this work. And so I can be better going into this, be better for this person going into this. You want to be your best when you go in. And even if you're not your best, you always want to actually strive to be the best. So even afterwards, you still understand, I got to get better.
But let me speak to the traumas and the insecurities that Nicholas was talking about. Because if you have experienced an insecurity and a trauma that your spouse does not know about, then if you go into the marriage without that information, you are constantly putting yourself and that person at risk for re-triggering them or re-traumatizing them. And so if you know that information, then that's a way for you to almost be a helpmate, and not necessarily like the counselor, but you're being someone who you're the support person, because that's what our spouses are, right? Our support persons are people, but you are the one that's saying, okay, you know what? When he's acting like this, or when he says this, he is speaking out of his insecurity, or she is speaking out of her insecurity. And so as to not trigger that, I'm going to either say something or do something to edify my spouse, to let them know, like, that insecurity that you're feeling is not real. Like, you are not that person, that you are better than this, and you're able to speak into them and to support them through that. And not only that, but whatever trauma that they've experienced, you are the person that's a way to kind of buffer them from being re-traumatized, because now you know. But if that's the information that you have not told your spouse, or you have not put it out there, then they not knowingly can continuously make you feel insecure about the things that they say and do, and re-traumatize you or re-trigger you by the things that they say and do. And so it's not fair to them, because they don't know that they're putting you in that position, because they haven't been told that. And so that's why it's so important to show the person who you are, your spouse, but also tell them about, like, these are the things that you don't necessarily see on a day-to-day basis in dating. Like, because you're not going to necessarily see their triggers. You're not going to necessarily see their insecurities while you're dating. So these are those tough conversations that you're going to have before marriage, so that you know how to govern yourself in marriage, just to support your spouse.
Can I give my analogy now? I want to give an analogy this time. All right. How many of you understand, when you got something on you that's hurt, like physically, like you hurt your arm or something like that, how people always seem to bump into it because they don't know? Yeah. And that's what it's like. This person, you got this wound, you got this sore, you got this thing that's hurting, and the person is bumping into it and they don't know. Yeah. And all they see is you got an attitude, you always irritable. I mean, you just got all these different things going on. But if you would tell them that I have this issue, then they can say, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know this. And they can kind of watch out for it. Yeah. And especially, you still want to make sure you heal from it as well. So you still doing the work.
We got Brian and Carissa tuning in. They are newlyweds as well. Hey.
Hey, Brian and Carissa. Thank you for joining us tonight. We hope we're giving y'all something.
Yes, yes.
All right. So Fred talking about premarital counseling. He said, it helped me a lot. Let me know that chasing women wasn't nothing compared to when you find a great one. I'm just saying. Plus, it can make me a better man.
Yes,
I wholeheartedly agree.
That's what we do as wives.
Wholeheartedly agree. It's something about getting the right person. And when I say the right person, I mean a person who's going to really invest in the marriage. They want to see you become your best. And once that's reciprocated, you got something great. Now, that doesn't mean that everything going to be great all the time. But you always know that this person has your best interest at heart. And when they are telling you something or reminding you something that you said you was going to do that you didn't do it, they trying to hold you accountable. And let me tell you about accountability. Here's the thing to know about accountability. Accountability is a serious irritation. It is a tremendous irritation if you're not set on getting better. If that's not your true intention to get better, accountability will, you talking about an itch? It will get on your nerves because you got somebody outside of you holding you to what you said you were going to do. Mm-hmm. Who you said you were going to be, what you said you were going to achieve. And in the midst of that, you're going to run into some issues. It's just a part of the process. But that person reminding you isn't to irritate you. It's to help you stay focused. So accountability is serious. Something you definitely want to watch out for. You want accountability built into your marriage.
So, okay, so I'm going to ask you, what about marriage is different than you expected?
Yeah, we got some newlyweds on here tonight, so y'all chime in, let us know. Has anything set in?
You. I do want yes, I want the audience to also comment and stuff, but I want you to kick it off. So what is different than you expected in marriage?
I think a lot of things, because number one, I didn't come from a family where I saw marriage. My mom wasn't married. My mom didn't even bring men around us. So I never saw that interaction. So coming into marriage, I went into it with my eyes wide open. I didn't have a lot of preconceived notions. Now, the good thing about it was I was able to kind of spend some time around married men that were actually trying to do it right. I spent some time with them and it kind of helped me kind of get a better expectation. But like I said, I'll tell everybody, it's different to have a plan than once the rubber meets the road to see the reality of it. So I think the accountability part for me was the biggest kick for me, because I did have some issues coming in. I had some issues that I had to work out. I didn't work it all out beforehand. And now I have my wife here who's saying, we got to fix this. We got to get this together. But like I said, if you're not set on getting better and being right, accountability is an irritation. It would irritate me for a moment, then I remembered where it was coming from. She wanted me to get better. She wanted me to be better. Listen, don't be afraid to be the type of husband your woman brags on. Be that guy. Be that guy that when she goes and she hangs around other women, married or unmarried, she comes back home and she says, you know, I'm glad I got you. That's what you want. Yeah. You want to be that guy. Be that husband. She goes out and she's kicking it with other females and they talking about their relationships and she just taking it in because it's at that point that she realizes, oh, I got it pretty good.
Yes. So
be that guy. That's who you want to be. That guy. What about you?
I need the people in the audience, though, to respond. I need to know what's different for those people who are married. What's different in your marriage now that you expected? And then I'm answering mine. So for me, it was those things that you talk about that, you know, you were dealing with or you had no prior knowledge of prior to coming into marriage. It was like, so even like, I'm going to say like the finances or just handling the business side of the household in the marriage. I had in my mind that was going to be me, like, because that's what I did prior to marriage. I handled all my financial things, and because I was that independent of my parents' kids, I was the independent one. Like I did all my own things. You know what I'm saying? I had my mindset on the business that I wanted, what I wanted to purchase, and all of these things. And so I felt like in marriage, I was going to go into it being that person, being that CEO of the marriage. And not only just because of what I was doing prior to marriage, but because of what I knew about you prior to our marriage. And that wasn't really important to you. So it was like, if that's you, you can handle that or whatever. And it totally flipped and changed and did a 180 almost, I think, year 2 of our marriage. And it was like, you was like, sit back, chick, I got this. Like, you was like, I'm the head of the household, I'm gonna handle all of this. And you did. And I didn't expect that. And so that's something that's different for me than I expected. And I appreciate it because, listen, the weight is off my shoulders. And I just go through this life and live life. And you handle, I know you'd be like, look, I didn't tell you to take your hands off the wheel. But still.
Right. He completely took her hands off the wheel. And I'm like, listen, I get drowsy. I can get sleepy. I need you to take this wheel too. But here's the thing.
I appreciate that though, because I did not expect that coming into marriage.
Listen, I always wanted to get better. I wanted to be a better man, regardless, just point blank, period. It's just now I have somebody who's there with me, a constant companion there with me to remind me. It's a constant reminder. And that's the thing you got to look forward to in marriage. You got that constant companion who's there to hold you accountable. So things that you would normally let slip because nobody's telling you about it, you don't have that luxury anymore. Somebody's there watching you all the time. I always feel like somebody's watching me. And can't get no privacy.
And no, not in marriage. All right, Fred said, I think the only difference for me now is we're not living in sin and our union can be blessed. And for me to be able to just deal with one person for a change in my life and to see some of the stuff I've seen my folks and aunties and uncles go through in life with their mates.
Listen.
So he's being able to live out what he's witnessed in his family with being married. You're going to be blessed for it. Listen, marriage is a blessing. Don't let nobody tell you differently. Fred, marriage is a blessing.
It is. Even with the ups and downs, it's good to have somebody there with you.
Yeah.
Somebody to share the load. Especially when you get later on in life, man, you don't want to try to deal with all this stuff by yourself. And I know everybody say, even people with money, they get lonely. They use their money to kind of mask it, but they definitely, you know what I'm saying, they get lonely. So it's good to have somebody there to build with, to grow with, and, you know, just the whole nine. I'm going to say this, and for guys out there who you don't have it all worked out right now. You don't have it all worked out right now. My wife married potential.
I did.
She married potential. She didn't marry a guy who had it all figured out. She married potential. About the only thing my wife knew about me, as far as what kind of husband I was going to be, is that I cared about her. I loved her. That's all she knew. Everything else, she was praying. Matter of fact, we in church and the prophet had to let her know, baby, it's gonna be all right.
Let me tell you.
Let her know it's gonna be all right.
Had to pull me up to the front on that day. Prophet Copeland, we love you. I probably wouldn't have gotten married when I did because, listen, I'm like everybody else. I have questions and concerns, and I'm like, forever, ever? Like, I don't know about that. Because as much as you want to marry off of potential, there's still that small smidgen of, like, could this potential actually, like, present itself? Could it come into fruition, or could it be a dud and he not be that person that I know that he can be? And so I had those questions, but I talked to the Lord. I was like, Lord, let me tell you something. Listen, I get that he's all wonderful and great right now, and he loves my dirty draws, right? But I don't know about forever, because I need to be somewhere where I feel protected, where I feel provided for, and loved. Like the being loved is wonderful, but I need to be loved, protected, and provided for as well. And so I prayed about it. And I was like, Lord, if this is not what you have for me, give me a sign. Like, let me know. Like, I love him, but I'll be all right if he leave, if you say he's supposed to leave. And then literally like that weekend, the prophet was like, I need you to stand up. And I was like, I didn't say do all this, Lord, and he was like, you are, contemplating stuff, but I want you to know that this man will not hurt you like people have in your past. He's like, he will not hurt you. So this marriage thing is of God, and it's not necessarily going to be perfect because no marriage is perfect. You don't go into marriage expecting it to be perfect, but you walk by faith. And he was like, God is going to breathe on this, and this is going to be a blessed marriage. That's all he had to tell me, because I was like, you reading my mail, because I was just talking to the Lord last weekend. And so you are saying what I asked him for. And that is what gave me complete peace, because I prayed about it. Like, I knew he had potential, but I also had that worry of, is this just me speaking out of love and lust and wanting to be with this person? But is this potential actually going to come into fruition? So you have to know, first of all, your spouse or the person that you're dating, know them in and out, know their tics, their insecurities, their triggers, and then pray about it and let the Lord or somebody show you that this person has potential, and that potential is actually going to go somewhere. You're not going to be just sitting here wondering what's going on. We got a lot of comments. Go ahead.
So let me help some guys out right now. Right now, you may only be potential. Dwayne says, Derek, I respect you, my brother. This alone is helping too for us brothers. All right. So let me help the brothers real quick. If you're a guy that's only potential right now, here's how to protect your potential, number one, and to move it from potential to actual. Number one, get the pride out the way. Because one thing about being just potential and having somebody there who holds you accountable is when they remind you when you're not measuring up, when things are not right, and they remind you, get the pride under control so you can hear them, hear what they're saying to you. Number two, get around good men. Get around good men that you admire, that you know are doing it right. That is so key. Men that's been in it for a while. I'm not talking about your buddy who got married the same day you did. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like mentors. Get you somebody who you admire. Number three, do the work. Make a plan. Do the work. Read. Get as much information as you can. But don't just get the information. Use the information that you get from the books. I don't care if you're listening to the TED Talks. I don't care if you're reading newspapers, magazines, whatever you're reading, do the work. Don't just get the information, do the work. And you will, anytime you're persistent and consistent, it's going to work out. That potential will manifest. It's going to work out. Fred says, don't worry. That's why I'm listening.
I'll be down there to see y'all.
Hey man, listen, we do that. We help couples that are going into marriage and even after marriage, having issues, struggling, and just understand it's part of it. Everything just ain't gonna fall into place in like some, fairyland type situation. It's not. Y'all gonna go through some things, but it's how you manage the crises in your marriage. And crises are opportunities. Opportunities to grow, get better, to learn more, and appreciate the other person more. Yeah. Appreciate the person more. All right. So what conversation should you have before getting married?
So many. Lord have mercy.
Right. And this time it's going by fast. What conversation should you have before getting married? Give them just one good conversation.
Okay. So for some reason, but Absolutely. I think you should talk about future plans. So your future, as far as like your children, where you're trying to live, and the goals that you have, your personal goals, because your personal goals have got to mesh with your spouses so that your personal goals can become your collective goals as far as a marriage. So I would say the goals that you have for your family and professionally should be talked about. Not only that, but you should have conversations about your insecurities, the things that you've experienced that cause you to feel insecure, and those traumas that you've experienced, because then people will understand, not even people, your spouse will understand when you say something or when you react or act a certain way that you are speaking out of your insecurity, or you're speaking out of the trauma that you've been exposed to, and not necessarily just coming for them. And so you have to talk about those things, because then those things could be a hindrance in your marriage if they're not addressed properly, so that your spouse could deal with you according to knowledge. So give them the knowledge to know your insecurities, give them the knowledge to know the traumas that you've experienced, and then your goals, your professional goals and your goals that you have as far as your family. Those are the things I think should be talked about before marriage.
Listen, and she's absolutely right, but don't force anything. Guys, what you need before you get married is you need a vision. You need to have an idea 10, 15, 20 years, 30, 40 years down the road where you want to be. As a married couple, as a family, professionally, the whole nine, you want to lay that all out before you get wrapped up with somebody. Because one thing you don't want to do is get a woman, especially a woman who's equipped. And I'm not talking about physically. She got a great mind. She got great ideas. She's very supportive, and she has nothing to use that on. You want her to use that on the vision that God is giving you and that you put in the work. Because she will, listen, she will bless your socks off once you actually have a plan. If you don't have a plan, she will become your irritation. Because she want to work. She want to help out. She want to do something. But you want to have something to where she can use that energy to help build what you all have. So definitely have a plan, have a vision for your life. All right, man, this went fast. This went fast. Final thoughts.
All right, so my final thought is know your spouse, or deal with your spouse according to knowledge. So identify those things that not only drew you to that person, but the thing that you know is what's going to keep you in your marriage. And so make sure that you have open communication, and communicate early and communicate often. And I think that's one thing that's going to push you on through your marriage. Make sure that you identify the goals and the specifics that you want for your marriage and for your spouse and for yourself. And then once you do that, like, the sky is the limit. You will actually have the blessed marriage that you want. Marriage is wonderful, but it's also work. So if you are not committed to doing the work, then you won't get the wonderful things that come from being married. And I think that's my final thoughts. Make sure you do the work, and then you'll receive the wonderful marriage that you want.
You know, there's a big misconception about marriage and how we look at marriage today. The problem with how we look at marriage is we look at marriage as if it's a contract, but really it's a covenant. And because we don't understand covenant, this is how we get into all of the fights about who has what you bring it to the table, and the whole nine. Because one thing about contracts are based on mistrust, but covenants are based on trust and relationship. This is somebody that you build a relationship with, and you want to have trust there. But contracts are there in case you don't do what I'm trusting you to do. But covenants are different. Covenants mean I abide by this relationship and I make sure I'm trustworthy. Contracts are performance based. It's based on what you can do for me, what I can do for you. And if I'm doing more than you are, I deserve more than you get. In the whole nine. But covenants are promise based. When you stand before God, you're making promises, because this is a covenant. For better, for worse, rich and poor, sickness and health. This is a covenant. This is not a contract. The world treats us like a contract because they take it before a judge, and now we're splitting up stuff based on performance. But this thing is about a covenant. The only way out of covenant really is death. That's why it says to death do us part. So if you're going to get married, make sure you don't do a contractual marriage. Make sure it's based on covenant. So you do it the right way, have the right expectations, and so God can bless it. And that's King Speaks for this week. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Another one in the books. Next week, we'll be back with my man, comedian John Yogi. Listen, we do have a podcast. So make sure you subscribe to our podcast. I can't even say subscribe. Subscribe to our podcast. It's available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, a few other places you can go and you can find it. But go subscribe. Listen, we want y'all to get all this good information and have it at your disposal, right? So subscribe to our podcast. We upload a new episode every week. So go check us out. You can listen to us anytime you want to. Also, like, share, subscribe. Tell people about us, what we're doing. If you like what we're doing, don't keep it to yourself. Don't let us be the best kept secret. Tell somebody about it. Right? Monique says, great show. Thank you. Everybody that watched, everybody that's watching, we appreciate the love. Appreciate you taking time out your schedule to be with us and share with us tonight. We appreciate it. We'll catch y'all next week, 7 o'clock.
Hey, real quick, tell them where they can find you real quick.
Oh, now you can find me definitely on Facebook. You can go to my Facebook page. I have several things. I have Overcomers Empowerment Ministries. You can go and you can check that out. We do that on Sundays. Also, we have a clubhouse that we do clubhouse sessions every now and then. You can join us on Clubhouse. But by all means, check us out. See what we're doing. Think you'll like it. All right.
You can find me on Instagram, Dr. Smith @_trauma queen. See y'all later.
Peace out.